everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Joypad Podcast. My name's Tom. I am hosting today with both the Mikes, Fleming and Pinto, and no Megan, sadly, but we will do our best to entertain you with an all-male review. I don't know how you want to take that, but do as you will. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking with my little watermelon seltzer and water over here. I'm going to throw it to Mr. Michael Fleming. What are you drinking? What are you playing? What are you doing? How you feeling?
I am feeling okay. I was just telling you guys, but I'll tell everyone that my allergies are acting up. So if I close my eyes, it's because my eyes are just watering or something. I'm not praying, okay? But maybe I will be praying. We'll see what we talk about tonight.
There's no prayer on the podcast.
Oh, okay. Then
we're a state-sponsored podcast.
We're not sponsored at all podcast. So, well,
so you can pray as much as you want.
If a church wants to sponsor us.
Sponsored by the Church of the Latter-day Saints tonight.
Yeah. We're sponsored by the Mormons and Scientology all in once. Scientology.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of not sponsored, tonight I was going to have a beer, but I'm a little bit tired too. So we got to open this up because I have a special beverage tonight by the unsponsored Coca-Cola. I am drinking a DREAMWORLD little can, which won't focus, but you know, for anyone on YouTube, DREAMWORLD. So it's dream flavored, and I've had it before. It tastes, I don't know.
Does it taste like space?
What does a dream taste like?
See, it makes me think of Dreamsicle, so like orange creamsicle, maybe?
No, it's not at all. It tastes closer to like all the various Mountain Dew flavors you have, but I would say the blue raspberry like one, possibly somewhere in there. It's Coke's been trying like this for the past like year and a half or so. They've been coming out with different flavors, kind of like Mountain Dew did years ago, and it's just like they're okay. I don't know.
So it's not like Coke with a flavor in it, like most of the Coke beverages are. It's entirely a different flavor.
I do not taste much Coke, personally. It says that it's Coca-Cola Creations and it says dream flavored, but I would not call this like Coke, like a cherry Coke. I would not call it that. It's okay. You'll find it in the stores. We found it at Target maybe a month ago, and I just haven't had it on the podcast yet. So since I was a little tired, and since they're small cans, under 100 calories, that's still an unsponsored ad, I decided to have one. It's okay. I also have some water for the inevitable beverage boy needs. So we'll see. We'll see what I get to. In terms of games today, / this past week, let's see. We played The Forest a little bit, I think, in the past week. I can't remember what day we played, but I think we did play. Our zipline creations are going well. I've actually planned out all the zip lines at this point, so I will send you over the Microsoft Paint file of what I'm thinking we need. I also have 2 more base creation ideas, and then actually technically 3 because we have the one on the top right of the map too, which someone else can design. I don't care. And then I thought we probably would want something maybe in the sinkhole or somewhere for the inevitable final fight we do where you activate the artifact and nonstop cannibals attack you, and that's always fun.
We should just build a tower big enough in the pit to get out of the pit.
We could do that if you'd like.
It'd be so much work, but it would be entertaining.
Very, very tall, but it would be entertaining though. That'd be kind of cool. I'd be fine with that and down with that. Outside of that, I played. Actually, I've been playing quite a bit of Age of Empires, partially because it's solo, so I can do it myself, and partially because the more I play, the more I realize that game was a lot of fun. I like when I go back to like old games and I'm like, man, these games are good. Why didn't I play them? And like as much as I should have or something. So I've been playing that quite a bit. I know you guys are not huge into the RTS world anymore, and I don't think you ever were really into Age of Empires, but it's really fun. And I've just really been enjoying like kind of playing that old game. It's also a lot slower than like StarCraft Brood War is, for example. And I can appreciate slower RTSs in my old age. I don't have to literally sweat as I play the game. So that's the other game I've been playing quite a bit. I don't think I've played anything else really, but if something comes to me, I'll mention it. But I think those are the two predominant ones. So, Mr. Michael Pinto, how's life for you? What is work like? And what games have you been playing? Oh, are you consuming a beverage tonight as well?
I am consuming a beverage.
Dream tastes like.
Not a sponsor, but I am also drinking a Coca-Cola product. We have discussed several times before, I am much more of a Pepsi boy, but my brand loyalty is not strong enough that if I go to the store and Coke is on sale and Pepsi isn't, I will buy full price Pepsi over sale Coke. So, Coca-Cola was on sale. Sorry, Pepsi. Coca-Cola, you now have a chance to sponsor the Joypad podcast. Get at us. Double endorsed today.
We'll send you a marketing email.
Now, I'm not actually drinking out of a can or a bottle. Well, it came from a bottle, but I have it in a glass so I can chill it properly.
Decanted.
Mm-hmm. That is right. I also have water because we all drink water. Hydration is key. We did play the forest. We did some. Oh, we built the church. That's what we did last time. That was the substantial thing we did. We found the church schematic. Mm-hmm. We built the church. We also built the giant cross. We discussed how we could get it lit up without lighting it on fire, which is fairly offensive to basically everyone, I think.
Don't light crosses on fire.
That's right. We may not be religiously affiliated, but we still don't believe in burning crosses. Just throwing that out there.
We believe in racial equality on the Joypad podcast.
That's right. So we put some chandeliers on it, and it looks pretty nice. It's pretty lit up. It's lit up pretty good. What else have I been playing? Oh, I started my next screenshot Let's Play. I decided to go with Legend of Legaia. God, that game's slow. I enjoy it. I'm not saying it's bad, but woo, battles take a long time.
Got that slow-mo.
Yeah, and then the frame rate likes to tank while I'm playing it on my computer. I am not emulating it. I have a disc. I'm just playing it on my computer because I don't know how I would record it otherwise. I'd hold my phone up to my television, I guess.
You know, pretend you're at a concert.
That's right. Oh, speaking of concerts, I went to see Ninja Sex Party this past week.
Hey!
It was a very good time. I went alone because that's how I go to most concerts these days, and that's fine with me. It was a phone-free experience, too, which I actually greatly appreciated. Like, someone came up on stage beforehand, and they were like, hey, the artist requests that you please don't take any photos or videos, and surprisingly, everyone was really cool about it.
Yeah. It was actually like that when I went to go see Porcupine Tree a little over a week ago, too. Like,
Did
they
they
had a
request
big
that?
thing up on... Yeah, there was just a big thing up on stage that said, artist has requested a phone-free experience, please no photos or videos during the show.
Yeah,
And it was fine.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
Everyone is way more actually invested into the concert then.
Let's be real. Very rarely are you going to go back and watch the video you took on your phone of a concert you were at.
I do it, but it's because I'm an egomaniac.
Rarely. That's what I'm saying. Rarely.
They did let us, during the last song, they were like, yeah, if you guys want to take out your phone now and record this, you're totally free to. So, that was a good time.
That would be great for a band like that to be like, they make that announcement and then they throw out a song where they're just like, if you got your phone out, you're a fucking douchebag.
That is something they would do actually. But no, the last song was Hey Jude, and they started blowing bubbles everywhere, and the entire crowd was singing along, and it was nice, and I may have cried a little bit. So
that's fun.
What else have I been playing? I haven't really played much beyond Legend of Legaia and the Forest. I've been sleeping and working and just editing a lot of content, so my gameplay time has been mitigated a bit, which is fine. You have that occasionally. Before I throw it back to Tom, I would like to mention that as of this recording, it's the 29th. In 2 days, it will be October. We gotta do some spooky things, fellas. Gotta play some spooky games. There was a nice big Phasmophobia update and I'm looking for. I read about it. I was like, oh god, I want to play. I love playing that game. And the fact that they've added more content, I think, should lure people back in, because it does get samey after a while without adding new stuff in, or new events, new ghost types, new maps. They added all that stuff. Is that what they added?
All of those? Okay. Nice.
Yeah, they did a big update. I assume they would around Halloween time, because it's just that kind of game.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm sure they get a spike as well in people playing as we get into September, October.
It's like Dead by Daylight probably gets the same thing. Like all those games.
Yeah, except Dead by Daylight kind of sucks. I didn't say that.
I mean, but it'll still get that bump. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've been looking into playing the Mortuary Assistant, which I've heard is very spooky and very good. So I might hop into that. But that's it for me. Oh, you asked about work. Work sucks. Tom, how are you? What are you drinking? You mentioned your seltzer water and your regular water already. So what have you been playing? And if we have a topic tonight, which I highly doubt, you can divulge it. And if not, we'll just launch into some discussion of whatever.
We don't topic anymore. That was so season 1. I had a watermelon seltzer, a coffee, and I have some water left over. Work for me has gotten better this week, which is great, because last week was, in the words of that game that I can't remember, ass. What the hell is that game
Bad
called,
Ben.
Pinto?
It was Bad Ben.
I knew it was like, I was thinking like Serious Sam, and I know that's a completely different game, so I was just going for alliterative title names in my head.
Maybe we should play. You and I have seen it, but maybe we should play that for Fleming's benefit, because I think he would enjoy that game.
Has Megan seen it?
I don't know.
That would be entertaining.
God damn it!
That fits some Halloween. That would be fun.
Yeah.
I'm on board with that. I've been playing a number of things since I got a little bit of time this week. One, the biggest one, this past weekend, Fleming actually came over to my house, and we got to play a board game for a little bit. So we played Dice Theme Park. It was pretty fun. I think we were like figuring out the rules a lot as we were going along, and a lot of it is just like, how can I combo and get everybody around my park and not murder them all? Which is not you don't actually murder them.
I was gonna say, is this a game where murder is not the object? Where it's like Roller Coaster Tycoon, where you want to build roller coasters and you kind of want to kill people, but you shouldn't.
That's the way we were taking it.
The thing is that the dice lose a point, on their 6-sided die, every time you use them to do something, like to ride a ride. So I take that as like, that's their total number of funds, right? And they lose one every time.
That's their FPM.
Or it's their, hours in the park, and eventually they leave. That's what they do.
And you can you can get them to kind of go back to like a 6-sided dice, for example, with certain skills or attributes of certain people that you use to administrate your park.
Yeah, there was a lot of strategy. Like, for being a game about theme parks, there's a lot of strategy. But it was fun. I liked it. I would play it again, especially now that we know how to do it a little bit better. But definitely whenever someone was going to leave the park, we definitely called it killing a man. And I definitely tried to do it in the duck pond as frequently as possible, because it reminded me of Roller Coaster Tycoon. So we still have plenty of other board games, and hopefully we can all get together again. And Pinto, hopefully you'll be able to make it one of these upcoming sessions. Megan too. But I actually just got a couple other board games ordered. One just arrived today, and it's a big one, which I've thought about for a while, and I put the money into it. But
it's Warhammer, isn't it?
No, but I got it because I was thinking about Warhammer.
So it's not the Skyrim board game, which you do have.
Not yet. I already paid for that, so I'm waiting for that to show up. So I got Twilight Imperium, which is a notoriously large, spacey, like diplomacy and combat game in the far future. So I got a nice little gift card from work the other day for some of the efforts we were putting in, and I went, well, this is treat yourself money. I'm going to treat myself. So I got that, and I did it because I was thinking about Warhammer again, and I was like looking at all of them, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. I want to play Warhammer. But I don't want to learn all the stuff, and I don't want to paint guys. And I fell away from that, and I said, wait a minute. Maybe there are like other Warhammer things, because I know there are a bunch of Warhammer video games.
I was also going to say there's Warhammer TTRPGs as well. Not with like minis, but you just play in the world.
I bought that.
Okay, all right. I'd be into that.
Yeah, I thought that would be fun to give a go. So I ordered the tabletop RPG. And there's also a board game. I think it's called Relics, Warhammer 40K Relics. So it's, lighter. It has its own set of rules, and it has a lot of the same, lore and a lot of the cool imagery and stuff from Warhammer. So I thought, hey, I'm not spending like $150 on one set of guys. Instead, I'm getting a board game and a tabletop RPG and some other stuff. And I figure we can try and give those a go once it all arrives and we have some time to figure it all out. So that was my buying. But the big thing that I bought this weekend was a pinball machine. So on Sunday, I went out and about an hour and a half away from my house, picked up a Spider-Man pinball machine, an original 1980 Gottlieb, I don't know how it's pronounced, Spider-Man pinball machine with beautiful, original 80s artwork, touched up with some LEDs and new little things inside and out. But brought that back. It was, a bear. I had to rent a U-Haul and drive an hour and a half there, an hour and a half back, take it apart, put it back together. I had to get my father-in-law to come help me put it back together because it is definitely a two-man job. It's a big, heavy machine. And we finally got it put back together and put away, and it's beautiful. It's awesome. I love having it in my game room. And B, I found out I really like playing pinball on a real pinball machine. I have played the absolute crap out of this machine the last 5 or 6 days, which is great considering, it's a decent investment, but I kind of had an itch for it, and I wasn't sure if that itch was just going to go away as soon as I had it. But I have been playing it multiple times every day and just having a blast. So, word of warning, if you do buy a pinball machine, I bet this happens to everybody. You're going to want to play it a lot, and then you're going to start thinking about getting other ones because you want more of that feeling. So I'm putting that away. I'm trying to put that feeling away, but I'm sure eventually I will look at getting another one. But for now, at least, I can remind myself that it was very heavy and very difficult to transport and then put back together. So I'm just having fun with the one I've got.
I mean, I told you, Tom, about my wife's cousin, right, who has the game room. Yeah, he's got 6 or 8 original I almost said pinball sets, and he said that as soon as you start getting into them, and especially if you start to learn and you make your own computers and stuff, as soon as you start getting interested in the electronics of it, you'll find ones where you're like, oh, I can fix this up, or oh, well, I can't, the parts, the structure's there, but the parts are ruined, but I can maybe, put some kind of, other kind of system in it to make it operate again or something. He said that he's really gotten invested in that, but he has a lot of money into that, into that game room in his basement. So it's cool, but it is the cost.
Yeah, I don't want to get super invested into it. If I got another one, I want to say 2 or 3 is max I would get, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I only want to get there's so many out there, but I wouldn't want to put money into something that's not something representative of stuff that both me and my wife like. There are Doctor Who pinballs and X-Men and stuff like that, and that's stuff I would like to get, but I don't want to get some of the more generic ones.
You don't want the Kiss pinball machine?
No, I want nothing to do with the Kiss pinball machine.
All right.
But you also
For the
can
record.
invest in other things too. Like, I mean, I don't think I would ever personally get it. I don't think you would because of the size. But I remember like Time Crisis, for example, is a game that I played
Yes.
nonstop. It'd be awesome to have that. That thing is like massive because it has that massive screen and everything. So I know your space. I know you couldn't fit that kind of thing, but
If I
it's a
tried real hard, I might be able to.
But like there's certain other games beyond pinball that you might want in there instead.
Yeah, and I mean I think we've mentioned before. I kind of what kicked us off was I got that Marvel versus Street Fighter that is in the same game room, which is awesome. It's again original cabinet with CRT TV in it and everything. I love that thing too. And the place I got it from does primarily pinball, but pinball and video game machines. So they actually have a dark silhouette silent scope machine for like $1,000, which is really cheap. Those things are so heavy and so big. And there's this part of me that's just like, how often am I really going to play that? Because realistically, even with the Marvel versus Street Fighter, you have to have someone over that wants to play that too. Like, it's just not a whole lot of fun to play by yourself. Although I'll say Silent Scope's more of a single player experience, but I think it's something where the novelty would wear off more and more quickly. Whereas pinball, it's always like you can play by yourself and you're trying to just beat your high score and stuff, which is kind of fun. I don't know what it is about it. It's a lot of fun.
So what you're saying is you're gonna find an original Dance Dance Revolution machine.
No,
Those things.
I would
were
kick your
huge.
ass at that game.
I know you
would.
We know that, but we also know that machine probably is the biggest machine because every arcade back
Massive.
in what 1998, 2000, somewhere right in there, they were like putting those right at the front of their arcades to like get everyone watching
People
and interested in
watch.
coming in. Yep.
No, I'm gonna get the one that has the arrows and the diagonals. It was the same thing, but all the arrows were in the diagonals. You remember that one?
Yeah, and they had the button in the center, so it's a five-step experience.
Yeah, I was never good at DDR. I had a couple friends that had the pads. Did you have those, Pinto? Like the home?
I did. I did not have the metal ones. I always wanted the metal ones, but they were like super expensive. I did have the soft foam pads though.
But what's actually cool is if you want to do something like that, the best way to go now isn't even to get like an arcade machine. Just get an emulator, because there's a game called Step Mania that was out even when we were in high school. You can just hook up a USB dance pad to that and play off that. So your best experience is probably just to buy a metal pad and go straight USB with that. But yeah, I totally get it with those like arenas and everything, and those looked so cool when you're in an arcade. And they're a huge draw. But yeah, Time Crisis is kind of on my radar.
Really? I'm just surprised because of the size. But
I've heard they're very hard to like keep the screens, and a lot of those require a CRT in them, and a lot of the CRTs are dying. But because they're light guns, they need that CRT to run right. So I don't know. It's on my radar, but is it something I'll actually do? I don't know. Probably not.
I mean, even if it's not Time Crisis, there are plenty of games around that time that came out that
House of the Dead.
Yeah,
House of the Dead's cool.
House
I
of the
haven't
Dead's
seen
one I was thinking of.
House of the Dead. There's another one that has like submachine guns. That's not House of the Dead, but I know there was a House of the Dead that had the submachine guns.
Jurassic Park, maybe? Was it a Jurassic Park?
There's a Jurassic Park one.
There was
I think I'm thinking of
Area
something else.
51.
Area 51. There's the place I got the Marvel versus Street Fighter from. They have a police trainer. That one has the two pistols. I remember seeing that in the arcade when I was a kid. All that kind of stuff. It's all out there, and it's just kind of stuff that now that I have a bigger space, I've always wanted the arcade, and fortunately for me, my wife has too. So when we look at this kind of stuff, it's like, okay, awesome. But the biggest thing is like, okay, space is going to run out quick, and it all costs a lot of money. So I've basically sworn myself off. I'm like, not unless something incredible shows up, I'm not doing anything else until I get a bonus next year. But I'm just really enjoying my pinball machine right now, and I'm totally cool with that. And I'm just enjoying the things that we thankfully can afford and hold in our home. So, and I'm looking forward to sharing those with you guys too, because we didn't really get to play the games while you were over, Fleming.
Yeah, we kind of ran out of time.
Yeah,
it was just
it goes fast.
It goes so fast, man.
Yeah.
Like I got there like what 3, a little before 3, something like that. And yeah, it was like 9:30 or 10 o'clock. And my wife starts calling like, "Hey, where are you?" She called you because I didn't answer the text at first. She's like, is he gone?
Well, and the thing too is like as we get older, like we'll just spend time hanging out because we haven't even seen each other since Joe's wedding. And you know, how much did we really get to talk at Joe's wedding? I don't know. And then Joe was there. So how much did I get to talk to Joe at Joe's wedding? Not that much. So, you know, we were all catching up and it was nice.
Yeah.
So that's the tabletop front and the arcade stuff. Really happy with all that. Then on the video game side, I am the long update boy today. I think did I talk about Turbo Golf Racing last time on the podcast?
Rocket League Golf. Yes.
Yes. Rocket League Golf.
It's Rocket League Golf, and it's awesome. It's like $15 or something on Steam. It's still in early access, but you just chase a big Rocket League ball down a golf course, and you get like Mario Kart power-ups where you can shoot rockets at people too. It's fun. It's really easy to play. I find that it has a pretty comfortable setup. Like it's easy enough to make a mistake that even people who are really good at the game will mess up. So you can still win against like established people who have played the game a lot. I think I've won at least 18 times and I've probably played, I don't know, 40 or 50 games. So it's a pretty good feeling. And I think I was describing it as less competitive than Rocket League, but part of it too is you don't have to rely on a team, which is nice if you're just going in as like a single player situation. So, you know, you're trying to win, but you don't have the opportunity to blame somebody else for hitting the ball wrong or something like that, or, you know, for you not setting something up right. It's all on you, and it's just fun. So I actually saw that was a suggestion based on Game Grumps, and I actually saw another game that they were playing that was similar called Golf Gang. Also $10 on Steam right now. Went ahead and got that. I haven't really played a whole lot of that, but it's basically the same without like the rocket car element. It's just that you're slapping balls around. You're hitting balls, and there's some like wacky elements to it where you'll hit a balloon and then you can kind of shoot it again in midair, and you'll go across platforms and stuff. More of a mini golf atmosphere in that one. So those are cool. And then the one I really want to talk about, which I just started yesterday, but I'm already super deep into it. Along the Warhammer 40,000 front, there is a game which you can get on Steam that's called Warhammer 40,000 Gladius Relics of War. And I started that last night. There's a bunch of DLC for it that I just got to because I'm really into it. But essentially, it's like Civilization, where it's that kind of hex grid layout. And you pick one of the different, I don't know if they call them races. I'm just going to say races in the Warhammer universe. They start you off with Space Marines. So that's what I've played so far. And it's basically like Civilization, where the other ones are on the board too. You explore, you try to destroy the other ones and take over. There's less of that diplomacy focus that you would have in Civilization, less of that kind of like resource gathering, and more focus on like making sure that you're producing enough resources and enough troops and the right kinds of troops to combat what you're up against. I found it to be really balanced so far and really interesting and kind of fun in getting you used to those different groups and the lore of like that Warhammer 40,000 universe. And for someone who really likes Civilization games, it's a kind of a home run for me. So I have been spending kind of every moment that I can playing this game and trying to destroy the other people on the map. It's a complicated game, I would say, because at least the way I'm playing, it's like a free-for-all 1v3 kind of situation. So essentially, the game I'm playing right now, I made it to one side of the map, got into a conflict with the yellow necro robots, whatever they're called. We're like in a pretty good fight, and I'm like, okay, I'm finally getting a push. And then all of a sudden the orcs show up from the left side of the map, and I'm getting attacked by them. So I try to leave those two to fight, and then all of a sudden there's a faction of Imperial humans on the east. They start coming in and like kicking my ass, and then they go down to where we used to be. I was wiping out some orcs at one point. Then all of a sudden the guys from the east are pushing in, taking me out. Then I have to rebuild, come back from the northwest, and it's been very I don't know if realistic is the right word, but very strategic and very like reasonably strategic, not like bullshit strategic that I feel like a lot of games kind of lean into. So so I'm having a really good time with that, and kind of looking forward to playing more of that. I was actually playing that right before our call. And there's just nothing like flying around on a land speeder with laser guns, blowing up giant robots, and skeleton machine men and orcs in planes. I don't know. It's super cool. And that's why one day I will cave in and buy Warhammer 40,000 minis. So this has been Tom Talks Too Much, the podcast. It's a podcast within a podcast that happens every podcast.
So I was going to say, speaking of irrational purchases, and maybe it's not irrational. You can rationalize purchases. We are coming up into October, and I don't know if you guys have watched.
Sorry, I lost your audio for a sec.
Oh, I hope that wasn't me.
No, it was me.
Anyway, okay. But so I don't know if you guys have been watching any like tech kind of news, but new processors and video cards are coming out right now. And
I heard that.
I'm really thinking about it, guys, for like that November, maybe December-ish time frame, like getting myself something new. Like the new processors look really good. I don't think I need a new video card because a lot of the video card kind of games I play aren't too bad, and I can upgrade later. If I do, honestly though, the 30 series of video cards are getting so cheap again.
Yeah.
Especially if you go used, they're going really cheap now.
That's where your money's at, because the 4000 series cards are, from what I've heard, they're being overpriced to try and motivate 30,000 stock sales because they overbought on those.
Okay.
And the other piece is it's just going to be cheaper. And 4,000 cards are going to be super good, but
yeah, but I've heard things like I mean, I'm more focused on my processor, also like expanding, NVMe or SSD kind of storage more, because I'm using a lot of like smaller ones. So I have to move files around a lot, or it's on hard drives. So I'm really thinking about it, and I don't know if you guys are thinking about it, but I'm feeling like Micro Center's not too far from you, Tom. It's a little far, just because
it's not that bad.
Because Philly's sucks, but
I'm happy to do Micro Center.
I'm really thinking about it. I don't know, Pinto, if you're thinking about it still or not, but oh man.
I will always peruse Micro Center. As you guys know, earlier this year I already did a computer build, so I'm on the Intel 12 series chips. What I will caution you is that DDR5 RAM on those motherboards. So you can always find one that takes DDR4 and stick with that, but DDR5 is a wave of the future, and it's a little bit more on the pricey side.
I have heard though I didn't really look into this, so I may be completely off basis, but I have heard that the 13 series somehow is compatible with DDR4 RAM as well.
Mm-hmm. The 12 series is as well.
Oh,
it just depends on what motherboard you get.
Oh, okay.
So I opted to go with a motherboard that was DDR5 because it was coming. I just wanted to go future side.
Yeah, but I'm just like, if you wanted to keep it pretty reasonably price wise, you could get keep your DDR4 RAM if you have it, like I do. Mm-hmm. So anyway, Pinto, definitely I don't know if you're thinking about it, but it's out there. That feeling's there.
I mean, I've been thinking about it for a long time now. I just don't have money, so it doesn't matter whether I'm thinking about it or not. It ain't happening. It's like, why would you name a dog that has no legs? Doesn't matter what you call it. It ain't coming. So
Oh god.
It could have wheels.
Yeah. I've seen cool videos on Facebook or
Yeah.
well, I'm not on TikTok, but
Take that old-timey joke.
But yeah, I mean, I'm really thinking about it, so
I-
there may be thoughts. I might start using PCbuilder.com or whatever it's called, and
PC part picker.
yeah, PC part picker, and start looking and thinking, because it would be nice to do an upgrade. I think my last upgrade was 2016 with the 6700K, and it's relatively like fine.
due.
I don't really have anything. Well, I mean, I make it sound like, oh, I'm due or whatever, but then Pinto, I know yours is even older, so it's like, do I really need to? Do I have to? But with new parts coming out, I'm really thinking about it.
Would you do one of the new Intel processors, or would you go AMD?
Well, Ryzen, as of this recording, has not, I think, revealed all of its secrets.
Yeah, their latest is still...
Yeah, I think a little more is coming out next month on that. Maybe I'm just imagining all this, but I think there's some more coming out about that. So,
I think you're right.
Yeah, so with that, like I'm gonna, like I said, it's not gonna happen in October, definitely, but it might be one of those like closer to November, December things for me, where it's like I've gotten some reviews, I see what stock is out there, I see if anyone's doing maybe not a sale on that, but like a sale adjacent, like you buy that, you can get something else reduced or something. And like I said, I want to start using PC Part Picker to like think about where I want to go. I will say generally though, I've been an Intel person just because I personally have found that yes, AMD is a good value, but there's things that just like the AMD machines that I have had, I've never been as happy with as the Intel machines that I've had.
Yeah.
And that might just be because I've used Intel for 10 plus years now. But and I've heard Ryzen's incredible, but I think I'd rather stick with safe, even if it's going to cost me a little bit more. I'm in that fortunate, place where I can spend the extra $50 that Intel would demand to get something that I just feel a little more confident in.
I think all my machines have been Intel. I think my wife's machine is AMD because I built that around the time when AMD really had a more dominant processor presence.
Yeah.
And Intel only just recently struck back. So the 12 series is really only where Intel started to get competitive, if not dominant again. Mm-hmm. So, and that's what I built this machine on. But even when I built my other one, which would have been like 2017, I had an i7 X series processor. And I thought that was very competitive, very fine run up against AMD. But I would say like the biggest improvements, like just quality of life improvements I've had from more recent tech has been a lot of motherboard stuff. And that is something you just can't get without upgrading really and changing a lot out. So the two biggest things I would say for me are the number of NVMe slots I have on my machine. I'm only using one right now, but I plan to get more. So I think that goes along with what you were talking about earlier, Fleming, of having like disparate drives and stuff like that. But I have a Crucial Rocket NVMe 2 terabyte right now. That's my C drive. And then the way things are right now, it's so much easier and cheaper to have like extra larger like SATA solid state drives too, which is awesome. Because I still have I forget 4 terabyte hard disk drive in here too, which is from forever ago. It still works. And I tried playing some of the games that I've bought recently. Not huge games that are like 2 terabytes in size, Europa Universalis, and then the Warhammer game I just talked about. Initially installed them to my hard drive, and they take forever to load. Forever.
Yeah.
But as soon as I moved them over to my solid state drive, no time flat to load up. So I think we're starting to see that point where we can phase those out. And then the other thing,
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I would say with the motherboard, I think you've mentioned before you're on a wireless connection in your house. So I am too now here, because despite my router being behind me, I don't feel like running an Ethernet cable all the way around to get to my desk over here where my computer is. And the Wi-Fi on my new motherboard is super good. It's like gigabit speed Wi-Fi. So, you can get that through the new motherboards. There are PCI cards you can get to do that kind of thing too. But if you're picking out a new one, you can just get that set up right out of the box too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of features on motherboards now that are coming out. In regards to storage, exactly what I was thinking too. It's like I use a lot of storage for like, pictures that I've taken or the podcasts, things, and I'll throw those on hard drives because they're not being consistently accessed. So that's where, your hard drives, your old mechanical ones make a lot of sense. And then if you want to put them into an FTP server like I've done, that also makes a lot of sense for cold storage or storage you're not, if it's not technically cold, but it's very you're not going to access it very often.
Rarely access.
Yeah, rarely access stuff. But you're right with the games. Like we talked about, I think last week, Victoria 3 is going to be coming out, another Paradox game. Expect that to have massive load times. If you don't have it on a NVMe or at least an SSD. So yeah, I'm just thinking about that kind of stuff. I'm thinking when I try to edit photos, I can't do it quickly if it's on a mechanical drive. So it's exactly what I'm thinking. Like it'd be nice to have, 2 terabyte NVMe or like a 4 terabyte SSD, and a lot of those would do better on newer components anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, it's just percolating in me, and I'm just like, oh, and when I start to look at something, over. Yeah, when I start to look at something, it's just a matter of time till the volcano erupts. It's not a sexual euphemism. It's just I really want a new computer.
There might be something slightly sexual about it, but
Yes. Male to female plugs, man.
The one thing I'll say with storage too, like we live in a great era now too with like software like a Cronus, where you can really just hook up that extra drive and clone your hard disk data over to that other one without having to do much other than that. Mm-hmm. And then just turn it off, unplug your old one, leave your new one hooked up, and you're good to go. Mm-hmm. So it makes life a hell of a lot easier because I still remember copying folders and files and directories from one hard drive to another the old-fashioned way.
Storage has gotten so cheap too. Like I feel like there was right around 2014, you basically you didn't have NVMe at the time, or if you did, they barely existed and were prohibitively expensive. So you had your SSD, but the SSDs that were coming out were still very small. They were maybe like 256 gigabytes or so, and with like Windows, that's the first thing you should put on it, so you have quick boot times. But then it's like, okay, well I do that, and now I can put like 3 other games because GTA 5, for example, is a massive game and one that really benefits from being on NVMe. We've talked about Paradox games, and they're pretty large at times too. So like now we're at a point where it's like you could put it on so many different things, and it's going to boot up pretty quick on SSD or NVMe, especially if you compare it to mechanical disks. So again, I'm thinking about those like future states with boot up times and some of that kind of stuff. We play games enough. I edit things enough on my own that it's like, it'd be nice to get something. And yeah, Pinto, like I said, I was thinking about you, and all these thoughts were going through my mind, thinking like, maybe you'll get, that big break you're looking for, that refund or something. It's like, ooh, maybe I could go to that now. Because I know that you said once your student loans were paid off, that was something you were thinking about. So I thought we might be new PC bros. He's quiet.
It'll happen eventually, I think.
Yeah.
I'll just say there's no timetable for it right now. Like, I could think about it. I've been thinking about it for a long time, but I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
What's always interesting with that is like, even if you're thinking about a new PC and it's not going to happen imminently, you can't really plan for it, right? Because everything's going to change by the time you go to get a new PC. I think even this last time that I upgraded, I had already forgotten what everything was, because the most I keep up to date with is a video card, and then you just have to figure out the rest, because everything shifts so much so frequently. Even with the new Intel processors, now there's performance and efficiency cores. And it's like, you have to kind of check into what you're getting when you buy it, and it tells you how many cores you're getting. Well, how many are performance and how many are efficiency. So it's a whole new ballpark every time, I feel like.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think it's just as a general PSA for people, it doesn't, to me, make sense unless you're really passionate and interested in it. It doesn't make sense to spend hours of your time thinking like, oh, I should keep track of what's going on with AMD, what's going on with Intel. Because if you're not building a new PC and you're years out, you probably shouldn't. It's going to give you that like urge to buy it anyway, and you might not need it. It might not be an improvement for what you're doing, and there might be something else you could do to get that improvement, like we've talked about with storage, for example. That would be perfectly fine. So
I don't know how you do things, Fleming, but I mean, I here and there watch like Linus Tech Tips, but when I start thinking about something, I normally will go to like logical increments and just kind of see what's recommended there to get an idea of like what fits where and what's going on. And then I'll shop around in that kind of target area. Like I'll look for that, and I'll look for like what is similar to this kind of situation, and then find out what I want. So I mean, like my case that I have now, for example, I don't think is on there, but it's actually a pretty popular case at this point in time, because it's the Corsair Airflow. I just happened to get one of the bigger one. There's a mid tower and a full tower, and I got the full tower this time out, because I have a 3090 and that thing likes to throw off heat, so it needs a lot of air. Yeah, I mean, you go on there and they'll have a lot of recommendations that you wouldn't otherwise think of. So I mean, that's kind of why I always go there as my first kind of consideration.
Yeah, I've used all the things you mentioned to do research before. CPU benchmark is also very, very good to get an idea, because it gives a every like individual thing talks about, like if you need better multi-threading, it talks like it compares CPUs, for example, which is really helpful. But like I said, I try to avoid looking until like I'm getting close to ready with that kind of thing, because I know that if like I started looking, like you said, back when 1100 series came out for Intel, I would have been like, oh, I want a new PC right then, and it's like it's just not worth it, because mine still again is relatively fine. I don't really get hiccups, and I don't think a lot of people do, unless you're doing very high requirement or high performance kind of things. Like games obviously is a big one, but also just editing or any kind of content creation. It depends on what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
That's going to add things. If you start programming, those add different requirements. Other development kind of things too add different requirements. So and that's what I'd encourage you to do. Look at those kind of sites to figure it out when you're ready to.
It's funny you mentioned that, because that probably is what got me to get a new PC. Actually, I recall watching a bunch of like Linus Tech Tips videos where they were going to the 12th gen upgrade, and they were talking about it for a while. So the Intel 12th gen CPUs, and then they were giving people a lot of the upgrades, and the people that got like 11th gen instead of 12th gen, they were like, oh, you missed out on the like all of this with the 12th gen. And that just kind of sows the seed in you to be like, but I want to be a 12th gen cool boy too. Although realistically, the other PC that I was working on was probably still pretty good. I get a lot quicker boot times and a lot quicker like calculations, more seamless gaming, stuff like that. So like playing a game like the one I was just talking about, the CPU matters a lot for those kind of like Civ-like games, right?
Yep.
So it's actually really nice. I haven't noticed any stutter at all with that. Everything goes turn by turn by turn. Go for it. You're good. And that's all I really want out of my CPU. That, and if I'm ever doing like Excel calculations or something like that, I have had a tendency in the past to write a couple things that munch CPU. And it's nice to see those go flying on my computer when I put them through my desktop. But yeah, I mean, it's that, and then the graphics card. I had the 3090 in my old machine too, so I'm not planning on changing that anytime soon. The biggest thing I've done with that is replace the thermal paste. Because let me tell you, the thing gets hot and the thermal paste gets gone. So always keep it with the thermal paste, guys.
And that's your point about video cards is a great suggestion, right? You upgrade components like certain pieces to get the performance you're looking for. You don't necessarily want to always upgrade everything.
Yeah.
So,
I totally see the wisdom in keeping your DDR4 RAM too.
Yep.
But for me, I sought out a DDR5 board because I figured I would maximize the CPU performance with the RAM, and I just wanted to be cutting edge. Let's be honest. So it's maybe future-proof myself a little bit, whatever that means.
Future-proof, yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, I needed to get off my desires into the podcast ether, and now it is out there that Mike wants a new computer. Fleming wants a new computer.
It's gonna happen.
We'll go to Micro Center. Yeah, if I get into Micro Center, something's gonna happen there. I mean, I'm there. It's not a close place to go. Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go down to Micro Center for me, unfortunately. But I am blessed that I can get to a Micro Center, and actually I can get to 2 different Micro Centers in about an hour and a half or so, which is just on that cusp of like, is it worth going there versus buying online from other stores? But it is worth it because of their great discounts.
Come out here. It's like maybe a 40-minute drive or something. We'll, if we're doing something else, we'll go do that.
Yeah.
We'll have a day. We'll do like board games and stuff. People will come over. Just come over a little bit early. We'll go out to Micro Center. Of course, if you do that, you're just going to want to take your stuff home and build your computer. That's the problem.
That is always a problem. Yeah. But really thinking about it. That was Mike wants a new computer part. I expect to see that as a title.
Tom talks about a bunch of shit, including pinball, and Mike wants a new computer. Podcast. Press the button.
Pinto, tell us something profound.
I'm writing that down as a title right now, actually. That's what I do as the editor in chief as well. I write down titles throughout. Sometimes as we're recording live, and sometimes as I'm going through and editing. So.
And then you Sufjan Stevens them as you go.
I do. It's made coming up with titles a lot easier, at least, that there's like 4 per episode instead of having to boil it down to 1. And I'm like, but they're all funny. And I'm like, God, I hate myself.
It's fine. I like the snowball of titles.
I actually wrote down Fleming wants a new PC. I could put Mike wants a new PC because it applies to both of us, but
it does.
That's a lead, because then they have to the people have to figure out which one.
It's odds are you will be getting one before me at this rate, but that's fine. It is interesting. Like, I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about like building PCs, so when you guys kind of go off, you can't see me. You guys can't see me. But people who are watching on YouTube might note that I was playing guitar for the past 20 minutes on mute, so don't think I wasn't listening. I was listening. It's just I don't know enough about these things to be able to contribute to the conversation.
Well, when it's your time to get a new computer,
I will have you guys pick the parts for me according to my budget, and then I'll act like I built it, but it'll be you guys putting it together while I stand there and watch and go, yeah. Which is what happened when Fleming built my computer for me like 10 years ago.
It was about 10 years ago, wasn't it, that you got yours built?
Because it was my graduation present to myself that I built my PC.
And it would have been that summer. Yeah.
That's right. So, yep, this old thing's been chugging along for 10 years, and it's interesting that you're talking about, like, what you need for specific things, because I do all the things that you mentioned. I'm like, I do content creation, I do streaming, I do a lot of editing, and man, sometimes I feel bad for my computer. Like,
it might be fun, Pinto, when you are ready for us to do a podcast, like a special episode even, where you like go through that and Tom and I are on and we try to figure out like what falls into the budget and how it all works. Because I feel like there's a lot of people out there who struggle with that kind of thing too. They just say like, I don't know what to get. I want the best, but I can't afford the best. So, if you're like, I have a $1,000 budget or whatever, and I want to be able to do these things, like there could be some fun debate on that too. And I feel like that doesn't exist often in the videos that I've watched. Like typically you'll see like, this beat or this machine shreds 4K gaming or something like that. And then it's like, here's just what we chose. And then it's like, you really rarely see, especially like when you decide to look, the people that put out like the $1,000 builds and stuff often are outdated, like Tom was saying. So it's kind of like, it gets really hard. And I think that it might be helpful to kind of think about that. Cause like, I wouldn't say necessarily, but for you and everything, but say someone was looking right now, it might make sense for them to buy a 12th gen Intel used to fit into their budget, and then they're still able to get exactly what they need to do the job. And
if you're getting a 12th gen used Intel chip right now, you're getting an amazing deal.
Exactly.
I mean, I bet that's what's going to happen basically as soon as is 13th out already, or
in a couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah,
I think it's a couple of weeks till it comes out.
12th is coming down now, and then after the launch of 13th, it'll be even down even further. But because they're so close, you get a great deal on that one.
Yeah, and same as NVIDIA 30 series.
My God.
Some people are going to, have the money or want the new one because there is some performance benefit.
I'll probably want it eventually.
But for 99% of people, though, they're not going to be impacted. Yeah. So I think it would be fun to do something like that and also think about those and put them into it versus like that really structured thing. If we do a special 1 hour episode, whenever that might be that you decide to do an upgrade, I think it'd be really beneficial for people.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, just one more point on the 30,000 NVIDIA series. I have a 3090. 3090s have thankfully come back to retail price and actually gone down. So, and especially as those 4000 series cards are going to come out, those higher end 3000 series cards are killer. They're so good. And I mean, they were such an improvement over the 1000 and 2000 series cards that if you get one of those, you can forget the 4000 series exists. I mean, that's I probably have no reason to even look at the 4000s. There's a huge power draw on them, and they're massive from what I've seen so far. They're just really thick, really big, and like the higher end of those cards is more difficult to fit in your typical PC case, and they consume a lot more power and throw out a lot more heat. So I'm kind of like, I'm good with what I got. It already shreds 4K gaming. So I'm just, my advice, look out for those deals in the 3000 line, and pretend that the 4000 line never came out. That's my advice to myself, to be honest with you, because I hear about it and I go, ooh, shiny new car.
Well, I told Tom Pinto when I was there, he has this like storage room area in his basement, and like it's a fairly sized space, and I was like, this would be like such a fun server room, start putting like, different types of servers. He can start hosting, have like a gaming host. Yeah, he could host a DayZ server. He could host the Forest server, so we can all join whenever we want. FTP server, anything he needs could be down there in that room. That was a very nice space, and that's something that I would do down there.
Yeah, I would have to figure out how to run all the lines because the connection to the outside's up here. But
yeah, that's true.
All doable. Yeah, so many fun things I would like to do with PC hardware. The next thing I want to do is a NAS, but every time I look at it, I'm like, I just don't want to take the time to figure all this out. That's my biggest problem with anything new and hardware related is I have so much time dedicated to other things. I just don't want to take the time to figure out this new thing. But yeah. I'll get there.
Yeah.
Cool. I almost forgot I was a topic boy today. So it sounds like we're about at the wrap up point here. Anybody have anything further we wanted to talk about? Now is your last chance. Otherwise, we will get married and we'll have to do it in a divorce. Yeah, it's a Speak Now or Forever Hold Your Peace reference. Get it? All right. All right, folks. Well, thank you for joining us on this episode. If you like what you're hearing, check out the rest of our content on all of your favorite podcast platforms. You can check out our links on joypadpod.com. It's going to direct you to a link tree that has all of our social media, email, and I think even Spotify links, Anchor links, stuff like that. Check those out. Leave us some reviews. Good reviews. Be nice. And if you don't, let us know why and how we can get better. If you have topics for us to consider, talk about, games for me to try and then ramble about for 40 minutes, go for it. If you want to give me a pinball machine for $20, send me an email. I'll probably buy it. I think that's about it. Anybody else have anything left to say? No, I see a no from Fleming. I don't see Pinto. I'm assuming he's playing guitar on mute again. So everyone, thank you for joining us today. And hey, if you can, play games however you can. That's all I'm saying. If you can afford an upgrade, that's great. But make do with what you can. Try to be smart about it. Don't be like me. But I mean, do be like me if you're going to buy a pinball machine. It's totally worth it. Because those things, all of it, budget or not, will always help you stay joyful.
Goodbye.